No, it's not clickbait. I parked them and I'm deactivating the authority. Probably not for the reason you think either. I mean, kind of, but the bigger picture, probably not. Anyways, check it out. Yep. So that's what it is. Um, like I said, it's not for the reasons most of you probably think. Um, so we were only operating 5 trucks under our own authority. Um, we switched from oil field operation. Our oil field operation grew tremendously. We started in 2012 with a couple trucks that I already owned outright. So we went into this business with no debt. Um, had a couple trucks that, because of California emission laws, I was either going to have to retrofit them or get rid of them. So I sent them out into the Permian Basin, and we started a trucking business. We had a marketing plan in place, unlike a lot of people that start their trucking business that don't really have, uh, most don't have a business plan. Most don't have a marketing structure, or they don't even know where they're going to get their work from. Amazon, I think, has opened up the floodgates to a lot of new authorities, because now all of a sudden you kind of know you can go to the Amazon Relay app and just book loads, and you're in business, right? And so, and we took advantage of a little bit of that. I'm not going to say we didn't. Obviously, that's where my Amazon experience came from. But anyways, you have to excuse my boy in the background. The wife and kid are out shopping. My daughter and wife, prom next 2 weeks from now. So they're shopping for a dress. They grow up. Anyway, so I'm here with boy. Anyway, so our trucking business kind of exploded because we had work before we opened the business. We had connections, and we got what they call master service agreements. And by the end of 2014, we owned 20 trucks and had about 20 owner operators. Yeah, we were pushing about 40 some trucks, and things were okay back then. Anyway, so when the oil market flip-flopped a couple years back, and they started dumping oil onto the market, and the rates went in the toilet, and the pandemic kicked in, there was no oil field work. We went from pushing 20 some trucks around the clock, day and night, to if one truck put in 30 hours in a week, something happened. There was a spill that they needed us to go clean up or something. And so needless to say, we needed something for revenue. So we went over the road. I picked a handful of trucks. You can usually see them in the intro where they're parked up, sitting on the fence with no trailer on them. I had a handful of trucks that we had purchased the year before. I want to say it was late 2018. CPA said, you need to spend money, or Uncle Sam's gonna take most of it. And that was kind of one of the things we got in the habit of doing. We would quarterly send our financials off to the CPA, and we'd have a meeting a week or two later, and they would kind of say, this is where you're at, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to stop doing. And so we had bought some trucks that never ran in the oil field. And if you've seen my videos, you've seen those Macs. We kind of ran them, over the road, and they do okay. They're not perfectly suited for over the road because they lack some of the amenities. Some of your newer trucks just have nicer creature comforts, and Macs are a little bit more about durability. Anyway, so we only put like 6 or 7 of them over the road. I think at one point it was 8. And over the course of like the last 18 months, I had an engine go bad, and I just said, I'm going to park it. I'm not going to dump money into it and try and put it back on the road. And then I had 3 injector cup jobs hit me like literally one would get on the road and then a driver would call, "Hey, this thing's shaking." I think I put up a video on a vibration they developed. These Mack motors do, Volvo motors. Anyway, and so the whole while I was struggling for drivers, some of my old oil field drivers, they were they were not really interested in over the road. A lot of my oil field drivers liked the fact that they would work 6 days and then they were home for two, and it was a regular schedule. Versus when you're over the road, everything changes every day, and even though you tell the driver you'll go out weekly and you'll be home in a week, there's just no guarantee for that. And with oil field, I think the other thing they liked is, with it being only like 180 miles from home, if an emergency developed at home, they can rush home and be there in a couple hours. Versus over the road, you could be 3 days drive. So getting drivers was always a difficult. At one point, I think we had 6 trucks registered, and I only had 4 running because I just didn't have drivers for them. And so a combination of things kind of developed, and I knew it was coming, and it's kind of in part why I haven't been putting up videos lately. So our program was, we were buying trucks that were 4 or 5 years old, and we would pick them up, buy them cash, no debt. My equipment rental business operated on debt, and let me tell you, it's one of those things where it's impressive when you're watching your fleet grow and you've got modern equipment, and the little guy is competing with the big guys. I went up against companies like Hertz and United and Ahern, and I had relationships with some pretty good clients because I'd been in the business for over 15 years. And when I opened my own business, for the sake of helping the little guy, I took some key accounts from bigger companies, and they weren't happy. Anyway, but then when the housing market collapsed and construction died, those big accounts couldn't help me anymore, but I still had big payments to make. And so when we started the rental business, or the trucking business, I had it in my mind that I do not want to be in debt. I do not want to own equipment that's tied to a market. So the only thing we were financing were like our pickup trucks, support vehicles, service trucks, stuff like that. Fine, go get a payment on it. And if things fall apart, you can sell these things on the open market. Last night I was joking with my daughter, and I showed her, I'm like, hey, look, she's driving that F-150 that one of my salesmen used to drive, and we bought it used. We bought it used for like $28,000, and it's a 2018. There was a 2015 shown at a local dealership. It came up on my timeline for like 40, and I'm like, hey, we could sell this and go buy you something cash. And she's like, Dad, I love my truck. So anyway, and so those were the only things we had debt with. But what was happening is, most of my trucks are 2012, the Max, and we bought them with this mentality that when they get 10 years old, we were going to sell them, which this is 2022, and that was in our business model to begin with. So we bought them, most of them had like 400 to 500,000 miles on them. We bought them in packets of 4, and we paid like 20,000 a piece for them. And so I'm sure right now in the back of your mind you're thinking, oh, Miguel, I get what you're doing. Kind of. So if I decide to go back in the oil field, these trucks are now higher mileage. They're 8, 9, and even I think one of them's got 1 million on it. And putting a 1 million mile truck in the oil field is just asking for, you have to chase this with a mechanic because things are going to be falling off, breaking, yada, yada, yada. Granted, these Macs, that's what they're supposed to be best at, is off-road. And I will attest to that. I've had Peterbilts, Kenworths, Internationals, Freightliners. I think I'm forgetting a brand, but I've owned those. Nothing compares to a Mac off-road. Nothing. Anyway, so what we're looking at is, I have a fleet of trucks. There's like 16 of them that we bought, all in that $20,000 range, and they're 10 years old now, 10 model years old. and we've had them in the fleet for 4 years, which was our business model. And it's time for me to start shuffling them out. But at today's price, I'm not going to pay $70,000 to replace a truck that I bought for 20, and so my choice is to keep running these trucks, into the higher mileage range and start paying for more repairs, which is harder to do when you're over the road. Okay, let's kind of point that out too. When we were in the oil field and I was buying, no ELD required trucks and pre-emission trucks, I had service trucks that went out chasing my fleet. You can kind of see a little. I'll insert like a morning shift change here. Anyway, so on a daily, I had trucks that would run out and chase my rigs, and short of a really big failure, then we tow them back in and fix them at the yard. But when you're over the road, it gets super expensive. A flat repair is $900 just because you're in the middle of nowhere and you got no choice, and you're going to pay someone by the mile, by the hour, plus the tire, and that's just a tire. And so by looking at our cash flow forecast compared to what our expenses are looking like to keep the fleet together, plus it's difficult to get drivers, and so over the last couple months I had actually bumped my drivers up even more. We were at 30%, and then I gave them 30%, plus a couple more incentives just to keep them on board, because you can't find drivers to go over the road. That's one thing I'm going to say to anyone looking to get into this business. If you're planning on the business is going to include you in the truck, and that's what you're going to do, and you're going to be the driver, you'll make money because it's you. But the minute you try to bring in a fleet and you want to have multiple drivers, the struggle is going to be to get drivers, and you have to pay them well. Otherwise you get really bad drivers and you're paying for fenders and wheels, and they're damaging stuff on you all the time. And so it becomes more and more difficult. So we made the decision to park the fleet. And it was funny because right about the time we were talking about, okay, let's park the fleet, let's go through it, fix up, bruises. I got one that's got like a cracked hood because, a driver smacked something, just odds and ends, right? Bring over a polishing guy and polish out some aluminum and, make them desirable looking. And right as we were discussing, let's start that with the trucks that are sitting, the price of fuel started going up. And then we quickly started noticing, the freight wasn't going up. It's been coming down, right? We're in the first quarter. Historically, this is when things slow. So the decision was made kind of like right in the second week of January to let's just start, selling off some trucks. And if the market comes back, we'll be in a good cash position to go out and buy, even if a smaller fleet, we could go out and buy 5-6 trucks cash and start over with a more modern fleet that'll be easier to keep drivers in. I think that was kind of one of the other struggles. If I'd had a couple Peterbilts or KWs to put over the road, even if it's the fiberglass round ones, as they call it, the plastic ones, drivers like those better than the Max. There's just no denying it. The Max aren't as they're not as comfortable. They're not as well appointed. And even if you try to fix one up, you don't get the same response, from people. A polished out, Mac isn't the same appeal that like a polished out Pete has. And so, looking at today's prices of trucks, I'm sitting on a small fortune, fleet-wise. I mean, I've still got 19 tanks sitting at the yard that, the oil field's starting to pick up, and so I can sell those pretty easily. I'm going to go through the trucks, clean them up, and just kind of cut my maintenance loss. I mean, because reality, guys, I had three injector cup jobs hit, so it's like $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. I had a cam go flat. That wasn't cheap. Just little things that start to come when these trucks, any truck starts to hit the higher mileage bracket. And again, if I had like a truck that was desirable for people to drive, it might have made sense. You know what? Bring it in. Let's do an in-frame. While it's here, let's paint it, polish out all the aluminum, put a couple nice seats in it. When the driver goes back out, he's going to feel all decked out and looking sharp. But these are Macs. They're not very pretty, and so they don't have that effect on people. Anyway, so I've taken a couple little projects on. I'm doing some consulting for a buddy of mine. It's funny because he used to work for me before. He gathered himself up some investors, and they're starting up a business of their own in the oil field, doing precisely what I used to do. And so they're paying me weekly so that they could call me and ask me questions. And it's like a year-long contract. And so, and it's a very generous contract, I might add. So I got that going, and then I've taken a driver position. I'm utilizing my X endorsement, which is hazardous and tanker, and I got a pretty decent position. 5 days out, 2 days home. So like right now is one of my 2 days. I'm home every weekend, and this job offers, it's a team position, but it offers 401k, pension, all the health insurance, vision, dental, yada, yada, yada. I've not had a job in 20 years, guys. I've never worked for someone in the last 20 years, so I kind of got to remember what it's like to be an employee. But I'm enjoying it. My son, he enjoys. I'm home every weekend. We play swords, pillow fights, oh, you name it. He beats me up pretty good. But I was telling the wife the other night, I watch other creators' videos, and some of the information they're putting out is just not accurate. And so I'm kind of on the fence, thinking about doing some consulting work for my subscribers. I've seen where, what's up, Dan? Yeah. I've seen where, people are charging like $4,000 to set up your authority. And, I comment on some of these content creators' videos where they're posting just misinformation. And I'm not doing it to like start arguments with them, but just kind of trying to help guide them in the right direction. And so I may open myself up to helping you guys set up your authorities and different permits and stuff. The outfit that I'm helping now, in fact, they made me a pretty generous bid to buy 10 of my tanks, and I'm kind of entertaining it. But I'm helping them get their waste haul permit with the Railroad Commission, their warrant in New Mexico, their weight and distance permit with New Mexico. I'm setting them up for all that stuff, and again, it's I think they're paying more than fair market value, but the result or the end game for them is they want me to introduce them to some of my contacts and help them get some of those old contacts to generate revenue for them, which is fine because I don't plan on going back to oil field soon. There's kind of another caveat there. I need another year to pass, otherwise my insurance quotes will be really, really high because they base it on your volume. And so the last year I operated in the oil field, we had high volume, and so my down payment for my insurance would be like 60 grand. And people have asked, why don't you just go back to oil field? I need to go back to oil field with 10 trucks operating minimum just to jump off the gate, to cover the insurance. The insurance, it's different in the oil field because you need different insurances. You don't just need commercial auto, you need pollution, you need long-term legal liability, you need workman's comp, you need general liability, and then a $5 or a $10 million umbrella policy to cover all that. And so I got like another year before my old numbers will expire and they won't use them against me, and I could start with 2 trucks if I wanted to. So that may be a play for me in 2023, but 2022, I think we're gonna focus on selling some of the stuff before the price on the trucks drop. And I do think they're going to drop, guys. Maybe I'll make another video on what I think is coming for for the truck market, the truck itself, not trucking. But I think the truck market's going to see a really bad adjustment in 2023. A lot of people that are paying, $90,000 for a 5-year-old box truck with 300,000 miles on it. Those are destined to become problematic loans in the future. A truck with that high of mileage, if you did a 5-year loan on it, you're going to struggle to get the 5 years out of the truck without having to dump a whole bunch of money in it. Kind of like what I ran into over the last 12 months, where with injector cups and cam and yada, 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 you're going to start hitting those. And I don't think the margins are wide enough in the box truck world. And I think a bunch of people are going to start jumping out because they're not making money. And a bunch of these loans are going to go bad. And you're going to see an influx of market availability, which is going to collapse the pricing. And I think it's going to happen with the big trucks also. So that's kind of why I'm thinking sell now. And I'd say about this time next year, we're going to see reasonable pricing. And about the end of 2023, we're going to see bargain values again. And that's probably where I'm going to jump in and buy a fleet. But anyways, I'm going to post my, this isn't the end of my videos. I'm going to keep posting videos, but unfortunately I won't have access to Amazon Relay anymore because I'm deactivating the authority. And it's smart to deactivate it. I'll make another video on that here in the future. But the short of it, the reason you deactivate instead of just leaving it there is they're going to still want to come and do audits and stuff like that. And they don't care if you're not moving. And if you're not ready, you can still fail the audit. And so I'm going to deactivate it short term. Even though I'll be they'll consider me a new authority next year when I start it back up. A lot of my old brokers that I deal with now, I've already reached out to them, told them what I was doing, and they're like, hell yeah, man, if you're back, call me. I don't care if it's the day you activate. Relationship has a lot to do with it. But I'm going to put my my Instagram account down there. And a lot of guys have been asking me, hey, can I message you? I got questions. Can I pay you for some advice, blah, blah, blah. That's the easiest way, I think, to reach me. If I gave you my email address, I get bombarded with so much junk mail, I'll probably never see it. And I don't hardly use my Instagram, but I'll get notified if you guys start messaging me and got questions or whatever. But I won't be able to do the Amazon, that was kind of what I was starting a minute ago. I won't be able to do the Amazon load board reviews. I kind of thought about monetizing the account and using that monetization to pay for the insurance and keep access to Amazon. And then I talked about it with my wife, and she's like, the problem is, what if because California audits you every 2 years. So what if California wants to come audit us? Not necessarily the feds, but California is going to come every 2 years. And then we talked about maybe putting some owner-operators under our authority. And that would help keep everything open and going. Haven't quite gone down that line to get to that point. But, I'm open to ideas. Short term, since I got like a regular job, I haven't really been putting videos up because I've been getting trained on how to handle, our product is at 430 degrees below zero. And so a lot of training with that. But I think now that I'm settled in and running with the team and yada, 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 I drive nights, and by day I'm sitting in the sleeper kind of bored. But I might start putting together videos from there. I got to find out from the company if they have a policy against it. I'm not mentioning their name for the same reason, because I'm not sure if they have a policy against it. But yeah, so that's kind of what we've done. The trucks are parked. I actually moved a couple of them to a friend's shop. A couple of them were getting paint jobs and polishing out the aluminum, detailing out the interior. So there'll be some stuff for sale here real soon. I actually got I got buyers before I even told anybody what I was doing, because my drivers knew. And so I started getting phone calls from a few different people. Hey, that white Pete, you're selling that one? I want it. Anyway, so who knows what'll be left. It'll probably sell pretty easy, pretty quick. Most people that know me know everything was pretty well maintained. I had my own in-house maintenance department there for a while. But that's what's up, guys. If any of you are interested in doing some kind of consulting or something like that, reach out to me, or if you just got questions, whatever, or any suggestions on what other avenues the channel can take to help you guys out and put good information out there for you. I do have a couple other videos I've been working on for a little bit. One in particular, some of the other content creators are like, they're trying to be like an authority in the trucking industry and offering people advice, and most of them haven't had their authority for over a year, which means they're just now starting to get ready to do their first tax return for their company, and many of them probably haven't even done their new entrant audit, but yet they're consultants. And every time I try to put that video together, it just comes off really, really bad, like I'm stabbing at them and attacking them. And that's really not my intention behind what I'm trying to get out. I'm trying to warn some of my subscribers to be careful who you're following, because if you're following the blind and the blind's leading the blind, it's only going to lead one place. And you want to get good information from good sources. Me personally, whenever I quote what a regulation is, I don't go to the Green Book. They're a third-party company. JJ Keller is not FMCSA. I pull everything off FMCSA's website, and that's what I tell people when someone asks, hey, what's the rule for this? We're getting it right from the FMCSA, because they are the only publication. If you walk into court and you're going to fight a violation, the only thing any sitting judge will look at is from the FMCSA. They could care less what JJ Keller or Cornell University or anybody else puts out. That's all interpretation. What they want is the words from the government, and then the judge applies his interpretation. Anyways, I'm going to wrap it up, guys. I didn't even expect this to run this long. I was just trying to tell you guys what I'm doing. But I got some odds and ends to get done here at the house before I head out again on Monday. But as always, thanks for watching.